Remember I told you last evening that this fella Andrew Gillum in Florida. Now this is important. Most of us don't live in Florida, at least not full-time, but a lot of people do. But still, we're discussing the politics, the use of racism, and all the rest of it. I told you he would run away from this notion of democratic socialism. He would run away from it. That's why it's so important to use race to attack your opponent. Oh, we use the word articulate. Whoa, he used the word successful. Whoa, he said monkey up. What does he mean by that? Anyway, Andrew Gillum on MSLSD today, doing exactly what I told you he would do. Cut 8, go.
What do you make of this socialist label that's going to be ascribed to you a lot by your political opponents?
First of all, Chuck Todd, what is your job, Chuck Todd? If you're going to be a front man, may I use the term front man? If you're going to be a front man for Democratic candidates, for Democratic policies, then just do it and stop pretending to be a journalist and resign from your media position. Because obviously, you're a hack. Why conservatives go and meet the depressed with this jerk, I'll never know. And I told you, this is how the media do it. They make a statement and then put a question mark at the end or raise their voice, so as if to sound like they're asking a question. What do you make of this socialist label that's going to be ascribed to you a lot by your political opponents? Hit it at the top. Cut 8, go.
What do you make of this socialist label that's going to be ascribed to you a lot by your political opponents?
Yeah, well,
now keep in mind, Bernie Sanders is his mentor. Bernie Sanders campaigned for him. Now, what do you mean by that? And there's no distance between him and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders being an articulate old red, by the way. Go ahead.
It surprise you. It doesn't surprise me that the president is, again, creating fairy tales.
President's not creating fairy tales. Are you a fairy tale? I don't think so. Have you not made comments that are consistent with Bernie Sanders? Did you not win as a radical leftist within the Democrat primary? Of course you did. And now he's trying to swing into the center, but he can't because his positions are radical. Don't call me socialist. Don't call me articulate. Don't call me successful. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. I get to decide what you can say about me, and the media will back me up, especially Michael Steele. Go ahead.
On his Twitter feed, he's done that quite a bit.
To being a socialist.
No, I'm a Democrat. I ran as a Democrat. I am
and
a
Democrat. Socialist, there are socialist parties. But socialism is an economic model. So you can run as a Democrat and be a socialist. And that's occurred throughout American history. He doesn't sound very articulate to me, Mr. Producer. Go ahead.
Frankly, the values that I hold, I think, are consistent with the values of the Democratic Party. In fact, I think they are the values shared by the majority of Floridians. What they don't know...
So the majority of Floridians want to get rid of ICE. The majority of Floridians want to get rid of Medicare and go to single payer. The majority of Floridians do not want a secure border. The majority of Floridians want to see their businesses taxed at 40%. And I can go on and on. Is that what the majority of Floridians want? Go.
What voters don't know. Too often in these elections is where we stand on those positions. I have been unapologetic in my beliefs. I have gone out, and whether I'm in red areas or blue areas or purple areas of this state, I've said the same thing. My grandmother used to put it this way: when you tell the truth all the time, you don't have to worry about covering up for lies. And so I've tried to be consistent every single place I've gone.
Well, there you have it. Now, Medicare for all. Let's listen to this. Chris Cuomo on CNN. You may not know he has a show. He's the brother of the other dummy, Andrew Cuomo. Let's listen to this. Cut 9, go.
I understand that there are studies that say over time, Medicare for all would reduce costs, have a healthier population, change copays. But the transition costs are
all right,
crippling.
stop there. No. Medicare for all can't possibly work. I've written about it, but why bore you folks? I don't know if Chris Cuomo can read. Go ahead.
One of your supporters, Bernie Sanders, his home state tried it, and they couldn't get it done because the tax increases that are necessary, crippling.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I think if for Florida to move in that direction, we would have to do it as a confederation of states.
Whoa, what? What did he say, Mr. Producer? A confederation of states? Well, let's pretend I'm a professor from an Ivy League school and I'm on the morning schmo show. Or a columnist. Or let's pretend I'm Michael Steele. Did he not say a confederation of states? Isn't our most recent experience with a confederation of states problematic? Was that a dog whistle or a bullhorn? What was that exactly? A confederation of states? Are you kidding me? Who talks like that anymore? A confederation of states. Go ahead.
Not do it by ourselves solely here in the state of Florida, because it would collapse the system. We would only attract the sickest of patients, and it wouldn't work. But could you imagine if we could team up with the states of New York, California, Florida, maybe even Texas?
New York, California. That's the way to go economically. Maybe you don't know this, sir, but your state is filled with people who escaped from New York and California and some of these other dark blue states that are more and more socialist and less capitalist. Go ahead.
Illinois and other...
there's one. Illinois has gone... This is great. I hope the people of Florida are listening. But he's not a socialist. No. Not a socialist. We need a confederacy of states. Wow. Go ahead.
Thinking states and bargain on behalf of the citizens.
There you go. So we need a confederation of states to get together. New York, Illinois, California, states like that are economically bankrupt due to the profligate spending by the Democrats. Pensions out of control, immigration out of control, taxes out of control, regulation out of control, people escaping to states like Florida and Texas and so forth. And he said, no, you don't understand. We need a confederation of states. Now that phrase, confederation of states, now we all know what he means. No big deal. But if I'm of the mindset that using the word successful or articulate or even monkey up as opposed, like a monkey wrench or something in the system, if those are racist dog whistles or even bullhorns, then what does the phrase confederation of states mean? What does that mean? A collection of states. Oh, no. If you're the head of the Democrat Party in Florida, and if Ron DeSantis had dared to say that, you would accuse him of racism. And it would be bouncing all over MSLSD and the Constipated News Network, CNN. Be bouncing all over the... Did you hear what DeSantis said? Confederation of States. We tried that once. That didn't work very well, did it? No. Well, what's he trying to do? It's a dog whistle to all the racists in the Republican Party. Really? I don't think so. Because you don't think. You don't know what it's like. All right. I'm just so sick of this. Sick of it. And I'm sick of people who claim to be conservatives and Republicans or even right of center who don't stand up to this, who don't speak out against this. Now, on Sunday, Labor Day weekend, as you know, we're going to replay on Life, Liberty, and Levin, or at least I asked them to at Fox, my interview with Shelby Steele. Forget about Michael Steele. Forget about all these frauds and phonies all over MSLSD and the Constipated News Network. Forget about all of them. They are mouthpieces. They are paid mouthpieces. White, black, red, green, brown, whatever. Forget about it. Listen to a truly thinking man, a scholar, who's delved into these issues of race, issues related to it. He doesn't make any excuses for slavery or segregation. Repugnant and contemptible. And neither do any of us, or should any of us. But he has the gall to say people need to think for themselves. People don't think as part of a group. We are all free men and free women. Act like it. Act like it. Instead, we get these mental midgets all over TV, stirring the pot, trying to divide the nation, trying to undermine the unity of a diverse nation, the most magnificent society on the face of the earth ever, with the most diverse population imaginable. and individuals in this country that insist on balkanizing us. You don't know what it's like to be this. You don't know what it's like to have this religion. You don't know what it's like to be. If you know what it's like to be a human being, then you do know what it's like. Everybody in one form or another has been discriminated against. Some people are smarter than others. Some people look better than others. It's just the way it is. Some people are taller than others. Some people speak better than others. Some people know how to bathe. Some people don't. And on and on and on. There's always some form of discrimination. Discriminating one person from another. But in terms of group discrimination, I don't know what else this society can do. As a matter of federal law, state law, the monitoring of various departments of government. I mean, this country's come so far, but you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it if you listen to the left, you listen to half the sportscasters in this country, half the athletes, or whatever, maybe all the athletes in this country. You'd think we haven't made any progress. The cops stink. There's no equality under the law. And so forth and so on. We've heard it before. And yet, if you're this racial group or that racial group, you're privileged or you're not privileged, and so forth and so on. Most people in this country work for what they get. Nobody hands them a damn thing. Whether it's that African-American gentleman who was driving the Uber car that my wife and I were in, whether it's some white truck driver, whether it's some Latino restaurateur, whatever it is, whoever it is, this magnificent, diverse country with still major elements of capitalism, people work for what they get. They're proud of having worked for what they get. And they don't need to be lectured to by individuals on TV who happen to have a hosting role or a guest role telling them how much the country sucks all the time and just rely on more government. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
It was never my plan, quite frankly, throughout the day to discuss this for an hour. Never. But frankly, folks, somebody has to give voice to rationality, to reason here. When it comes to the slinging and the sliming of people to try and shut them down, to try and threaten their reputations, to try and prevent them from speaking, prevent them from running for office. Well-to-do media personalities, well-to-do professors, well-to-do business people, well-to-do politicians, constantly trying to tear this country apart. The values that bring us together, faith, family, liberty, private property rights, the values that bring us together are under attack. And so when you seek to defend those values from those who are attacking it, the hardcore progressive left, you are inevitably accused of racism. Inevitably. Can you think of a single prominent conservative who hasn't been? Barry Goldwater? Milton Friedman? Ronald Reagan? John McCain, not particularly conservative. He was accused of it. You're not allowed to win elections. Of course, the current president, you're not allowed to win elections. You're not allowed to make the case for liberty. You're not allowed to make the case for capitalism, securing the border, lawful immigration, without having this mud. It's even worse, this sludge thrown at you, this toxic sludge to shut you down and shut you up. This phrase, white privilege, honestly, I hadn't heard of this phrase until the last 2 or 3 years. And again, Shelby still talks about this on Sunday's show. White privilege. You've got an enormous number of people in this country who are Caucasian, whatever that means, who have to break their ass every day to put food on the table. Every day. They don't complain. They don't squawk. Many of you, that's what you do. We have people who call this program all the time, driving 18-wheelers from one end of the country to the other. They're away from home 10 months out of the year to bring us goods and material to retail stores and so forth. When you hear phrases like white privilege or this phrase racism thrown around, things like that, this is intended to disrupt the civil society. This is intended to put an end to any serious discussion about any serious issue. Don't tell me I don't understand this or I don't understand that or you've never been this or you've never been that. The vast majority of us have never been the vast majority of anything. And when you start putting people in these boxes and then insist that they be in these boxes and insist on groupthink and group identification, you don't understand Americanism. You don't understand the purpose of this nation. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are an imperfect people, but we are a great people. And if you don't believe we're a great people, then you don't believe in America at all, quite frankly.